Welcome to our international call. It's my pleasure to be welcoming everybody. My name is Keith Hooper. We're joined here this day by people all over from Northern Ireland, the UK, Spain, Canada, the U.S., Mexico, and even the great state of Texas, where my good friend John Solleder is at. Good evening, John, or good afternoon, John.
Good afternoon, Keith. Good afternoon, everybody in the United Kingdom, Ireland, and even in Spain and other parts of Europe. Good evening to all our folks up in Canada as well, and maybe even one or two down in Mexico. It's an honor to be part of this call here today for a lot of reasons. Number one, Immunotech is going into its 20th year of business, and we've got a lot of new people around the world that are looking for a real opportunity, a real home-based business, backed by a legitimate product verified by science, and that's exactly what we have with our Immunical product. 40 years of science, 20 years of business, company's going the right direction, product's amazing, always has been, once again verified by over 80 international method of use patents on the core product, 34 plus clinical trials, more ongoing, and a product, once again, that, you know, as each month and as each year passes and we're part of this, we become that much more impressed with this incredible invention that Dr. Buenos and his colleagues at McGill created all those years ago for us. So we have a remarkable product, but today we want to talk a little bit about business. I just wanted to really illustrate for folks today around the world how powerful the Immunotech business actually is. So I wanted to introduce some of our new people to some of our people who have been around with Immunotech for a number of years, and really just to hopefully paint in your mind the picture that this can be a long-term opportunity for you and your family, and that you could put that proverbial financial fortress around you and your loved ones for years to come, no matter what the economy is, no matter who runs your government, no matter what the circumstance is, that you have an opportunity you believe in, and that we acquire the skill sets to market it accordingly, and you'll meet people who are doing just that today. I want to start out, I have no particular order here. I'm just going to kind of go off the cuff here. I think I want to start out with somebody who has been a part of this for a long time, came here with me almost 20 years ago, 20 years ago this month, actually. That's my good friend up in Ontario, Wally Kralik. And Wally, if you would share with the folks a little bit about what you did prior to Immunotech, number one, and number two, how long you've been here and the results that you've had.
Wally, you're going to need to hit *6 to unmute.
Is that working now?
You're here.
Yeah, you're there, Wally. Go ahead.
Okay. Yes, John, that was an eventful day. At first I was a little reluctant to take off with you to Montreal, but I was so impressed with the product that I saw the longevity to the whole program. There are so many companies out there that have, okay products, but they're not going to withstand the test of time, and that's what attracted me to to joining Immunotech at that particular time. My background, of course, was in retail. I was always a traditional type of business guy, very, very, very successful, and also, how should I say, maybe not so smart when I lost my business, lost millions of dollars, and that's actually when I got into the industry. Because I knew if I went and got a job again, or a job, which I've never had, that I'd never become financially free again. That's why I chose to go with you, John, have a look at the opportunity, and got excited about the product, and also got excited about the longevity to it, and the fact that Immunotech was such a rock-solid company, some serious people, serious money behind it. That was also impressive, and the leadership that was there. So that's what got me excited, John.
And Wally, one last question, okay? So you've been here now for 20 years. You've been full-time for 20 years, okay? What's the next 20 years look like?
Well, that's the exciting part about it. I'm building, as far as I'm concerned, I'm building a legacy here. This is something that I'm going to be passing on to my children. There's a lot of stuff in the hopper, so to speak, that a lot of people aren't privy to, but the company's doing some very, very exciting things in the background, that some of it's going to be launched at our up-and-coming convention. So I can see the next 20 years based on some very, very serious growth. And the reason, one of the big reasons why, of course, is because of this wellness boom that's happening, and the fact there's 10,000 new people every day in North America. Forget about the rest of the world. Every day there's 10,000 people turn 65. They all need our product. So we've got an exceptional comp plan and an exciting at least 15 years ahead of us. So it's a good time to jump on board.
Great. Thank you, Wally. I know another gentleman who's got to pick up his kids here at school a few minutes from now and done a remarkable job. He's a gentleman that came from Ghana many, many years ago to Toronto, saw the Immunotech opportunity, and once again, some I think it's about 20 years as well for him. He'll correct me if I'm wrong. Foster Aluso, are you with us?
Yes, I am, John. How are you?
I'm terrific. Why don't you share your story a little bit, if you would?
Thank you for the opportunity, John. I think my story is the typical immigrant story here in North America. Of course, I came to Canada in the mid-'80s, and of course, I started working because I needed a job. My professional training in terms of background, I was trained in the field of accounting. I came to Canada, started working all kinds of menial jobs, and my last job I was actually a manager in a dairy plant. And February of 1999, I had the opportunity to investigate Immunotech, and I can tell you it was February 2nd of 1999 when I saw the opportunity. I made a decision the very first day and went to work. Exciting news for me, though. I received my first check in 2 weeks. Back then, we used to get paid every 2 weeks. So my first check was received in February 18th of 1999. Fast forward, since that time to this day, I've never missed a check. I tell people that I was broke when I got started. I was living in a 2-bedroom apartment, and pretty much I was dissatisfied with my full-time job, and I needed a change. Fast forward, 17 years later, I've been with Immunotech full-time for that length of time, and I've been able to put my children through private school, which, again, is one of those unusual immigrant success story. Today, I can tell you, being a member of the Millionaires Club is probably an exciting story to share. And for the remaining 15, 20 years, as you asked Wally, it's time to give back, to really reach out.
Keith, I think we lost Foster.
Encourage them to know that this is real.
Great. Foster, one last question. I know that this affords you not only the opportunity to have your kids in great private schools and great education, but I know also gives you the ability to spend time with them. I know you're coaching soccer every fall and spring with them. As a dad, what does that do for you as compared to most of the other dads that have the traditional 9-to-5 type of situation?
Well, again, this is one of those intangible success stories that we can share. As you know, John, you know a little bit more about me personally than most people on this call. But for the past good 14 years, I've been a full-time dad. In other words, every morning I make sure that I drive them to school and I bring them home. And to me, I've been very consistent in building my business evenings, but at least I make sure that I have both the quality and quantity time to spend with my family, which to me, at the end of the day, you can have all the successes in the world. If you fail your family, then there's absolutely nothing to show for. So it's been a real blessing. Back to you, John.
Great. And just adding up the time here that Foster referenced February 1999. So this will be his 17th year doing this for a full-time living. Suzette McKay, have you made it with us from Saskatchewan? I hope you have.
Yes, I have. Can you hear me now?
I sure can, Suzette. Would you tell your remarkable, well, first of all, share with everybody what you did before Immunotech and the significance of that and how that kind of led you to the product, and I'll let you tell your story. Go ahead.
Okay. I started because I ended up coming 13 years ago, and, you come through this company through, inspiration or desperation, and I came through the survival door. A little old lady on my street, she was bold enough to say, hey, I heard you're not well. I know of this product out of McGill University that does every state of health. Can I give you some information? And then she gave me a VHS that said, what you don't know will kill you. I was in dire need at the time. I was not well. I used to be in the Canadian Air Force. I was an aircraft technician. I fixed various aircraft and helicopters around the world. And in my journeying, I ended up doing 6 months in the Middle East in the Gulf War. And then after that, I came home and I did a couple of other tours in Ethiopia, Somalia, and Ethiopia. But the story goes, by the time I got out of the Gulf, already I wasn't feeling well. And by the time we ended up getting to Africa, I ended up with hives. My symptoms were, and they considered that at that time, now they've labeled it as Gulf War syndrome, but back then it wasn't. People's hair were falling out. I needed to learn Braille. My tongue turned all black. I grew a buffalo hump. My brain was deteriorating to the point that I knew stuff. I used to be able to fix all kinds of aircraft, I was an electronic technician, and 3 kinds of helicopters, and I couldn't figure out how to get the milk out of the bag. And in Canada, it's available in bags. And one of my kids had to say, "Mom, you need scissors," right? I was deteriorating and making other plans. And had this lady not been bold enough to tell me about this, I wouldn't. And so that's how I ended up coming to the product. And it's by environmental toxins. And I know they hindsight, as Canadians, when we went over, they gave us a whole bunch of inoculations. We got 15 shots in the same day. I'm talking typhoid, yellow fever, and I know all over the place there is immunizations. But for us, I think we got too many, and they have different carriers. So this is heavy metal toxins. This is environmental toxins. And it's just not us from the Gulf. There's 100,000 new chemicals. And as I started taking my Immunical, so there was only Immunical at the time, and I thought, what have I got to lose at this point? I started 1 a day. And by the end of my first month, I got so much energy, I started cleaning the garage. And you've got to think, I've been bedridden on and off for 3 years, and I've been telling the kids, put it in the garage, Mom will deal with it later. So for me, it started, and then my brain power started to come back, my energy came out, I learned to spell, so, they say that it does cognitive function. We're quite good on that. There's days I still have trouble focusing, but really it's much, much better. My state of health allows me to travel. My hair has grown back, and I got my mojo. It's good to be alive, and that changed lifestyle for me, right? Let alone being a mother and a husband and traveling, and my joy was back. And so it turned into a business just because you can't help it. You see somebody get a business card and they say, hey, you're doing better. Well, you should check this out. Look what we got over here. So, when I see somebody, sometimes I feel sad now if I don't have a card with me. I didn't do them the favor. And so you start telling people, next thing you know, you're eating for free because you want to be on this and that. And then you're buying the car, which it changes your lifestyle. And then you're paying for the kids' college. And for me, it's had many repercussions on lifestyle. I was doing business in Ontario, and family obligations dictated that because of my parents, somebody needed to move back to Saskatchewan to be of assistance. So I moved back here, started business here. I travel back and forth from Ontario at my leisure back to Saskatchewan in Western Canada from there. It has allowed me to, you got to think, travel now and travel back then. With Immunitech, you get to go on all these trips, right? They've sent me to Cancun and the Mediterranean. First time I went through the Mediterranean, I went on a Canadian warship. They had to hide the women in Cairo so we wouldn't get sold. And this time I went with Immunitech, who flew me in a day early to Barcelona, toured me around Nice and Italy and plush quarters. It was just, lifestyle changes that. You can go fast with this company and you can go slow. For me, I've had the ability to do both, so it works like a pension, like a regular paycheck income, which has been really good for that in moments where I've had to put my attention otherwise, right? I'm excited because this product is for everybody. My oldest is 101 years old, and how's she going to die? She got no diseases. I've got my youngest. There's several people taking it because it's they're in wombs, they're pregnant, right? It's a consumable. Realize that as a business that this is a consumable, and this is what makes it very different than anybody else's. If you buy a Mary Kay or I'm just using, a skincare product, and it's good that that bottle lasts you for 8 months, or that Pampered Shelf dish, but every month you only get paid every 8 months, where this is a monthly consumable, which is great. I love that. I'm excited that it's Canadian, because that means all our scientific validation is well recognized around the world. And you can get paid for helping people. That's cool, right? It's never going to be a fad. It's a high demand product. The immune system isn't going anywhere, so the timing is great. And most of all, it lets you to dream again. And, unlimited fun is yours just by being of assistance. John, back to you.
Okay, Suzette, thank you very much. Let me just see if what I'd like to do at this point is to go over to the south of Spain, which is sounds like a really pretty place to be this time of year. And I know he's struggling with a little hoarseness today, but I'd like Don Hutchinson, if he could, to kind of tell, he's been here now for about 8-9 months, been part of Immunotech. I'd like him to kind of give his perspective back to some of our North American folks. Don's somebody who's been in the industry, been extremely successful with several companies prior to Immunotech, and I'd like Don to share with you a little bit about why he's excited and what he's seen in these first 8 or 9 months that he's been at Immunotech. Don, take it away.
Thank you, John, and thank you everybody who's spoken so far and everyone who's on the call here listening in tonight. I can tell you, I'm a newcomer. I'm a baby in the Immunotech business compared to some folks who've been in the business now for 13 years, 15 years, 17 years, 20 years, as you've heard in this call. And that excites me. That excites me very much for a number of reasons. First of all, I think Wally mentioned longevity, the fact that there's a company here and a product here that has passed the test of time. He also talked about the wellness boom. He talked about building a legacy here. Well, a lot of people who are looking for opportunity are, quite frankly, a little bit tired of the here today, gone tomorrow opportunities that seem to bounce up every month, or if you've been in the business a while, if you've been in the industry a while, you certainly can see nearly every day or every week there's emails about this new company, this new opportunity, this new deal that's coming up. And at my stage, I've seen them. I've seen them all. And what I'm looking for is something that has strength, that has honesty, that has integrity, that has longevity, that people can come here and build a future with not only the credibility here of the company and the product and the leadership, but with the certainty that it's going to be around for it as long as it takes people to build their own legacy. And, we're all different. I like what Suzette said, about building this part-time or full-time or whatever time. You can take claim to the lifestyle that is yours, the lifestyle that you truly want. You can lay claim to that, whatever it might be it a part-time opportunity, be it go into a full-time opportunity, as some folks have done from day one, or as some folks will do, they start part-time, they get to like the product, they get to share it, they start to see that the business is real, and when they hear the content of this call, they see that the opportunity is not only real, but it's going to last for a long, long time, because now Immunotech is embarking on its expansion mode, and it's great to have the solidity of a product that has been worked on and developed for 20 years. 20 years, that's a long, long time to establish a product, to do the clinical studies on a product, to make sure everything is correct, to take patents out on that product, and then following that, to start marketing it. And to start marketing it from day one, and now and then January, we're looking at 20 years of marketing that 20-year history in the product. So we're looking back on a 40-year history, and to be quite frank with you folks, it's only just beginning. It's really, really starting. And people are able to come in here and look at this and say, well, look, there's a foundation. I feel good about that. I don't want to jump from opportunity to opportunity. Instead of jumping from opportunity to opportunity and getting excited with the new shiny opportunity, here you've got the chance, the opportunity to plant your flag somewhere, put your feet somewhere, feel really good about a company and the people and the vision behind it, and start jumping from person to person. Start jumping from person to person. That's the new shiny object. That's the new excitement. It's not the new company that's offering you this, that, and the other. Here you have something that's solid as a rock, and you can get as excited even more excited by offering this product an opportunity to a new person as you will by looking at a new opportunity that pops up every so often. And every new person you get on the product, my goodness, listen to Suzette's story. There's so many other stories now over the years of people's health and wellness that has been affected in a positive manner. That's what gets us excited, is that sharing of the product and the story. And so basically, having been in this only a few months now, I can see the growth that's occurring already. I can see the similar things happening in this part of the world that has happened over in North America, and the future is bright. The future is Immunotech. It is growing, and it's going to continue to develop and grow. You know why? Because with a story this good, and with a company that backs it up, and the leadership that we have in this organization and in the other organizations right across North America, it's a given. There's no question about it. So anyhow, I just wanted to say that, John, the opportunity here is to take the story into your own community and to take it around the country, and then eventually to take it right around the world if we just take action and share. And I hope that we can hear from Keith a little bit, maybe this call or maybe another call, but he's got a story that's affected a lot of people as well in terms of his longevity in the business. Thank you, John. I'm going to pass it right back to you.
Okay, great. Well, thank you, everyone, this afternoon and this evening on both sides of the ocean, both sides of the pond, as they say over in Europe. And it is very exciting. Very exciting to be able to, be here in Dallas and talk to people that are in Spain and England and Ireland and Canada and the United States all at the same time about this remarkable opportunity driven by, most importantly, a real verifiable product. And, that's how I got here 20 years ago. My mom had a situation. Doctor in New York suggested this product. She got on it. Didn't know there was any kind of a business opportunity associated with it, but we were interested in my mom getting well. And that's how we found the Immunical. And, the rest, as they say, is history. And, most of you heard my stories, but it was a progression of events that led us to eventually coming to Immunotech and creating a business with it. And, that business has been sustainable. Like my good buddy Foster and like many of the other people you heard from today, we've been able to send kids to private school. We've been able to fund high-level athletic educations as well with 2 sports that our children are involved with. It's been remarkable, and it's only getting better. And once again, it's because we have a product that works, that people want. Bottom line, it's been very well said by many today, so I won't repeat everybody else's comments. But to Don's point, let's go back to our host and the person who has been here the longest besides Dr. Bunos and John Molson and Dieter Beer, I think, as far as association with Immunotech, and Chuck Roberts, and that would be my good friend and sponsor, Mr. Keith Hooper, and I'll let him tell you a little bit and say goodbye on behalf of everybody. Go ahead, Keith.
Well, thank you, John. Thank you, everybody, for being on this call, of our first international call, and I'm listening to all the stories of what the product has meant to people, both financially and physically, and we go back and look at those 20-plus years ago, literally. We heard about Immunical 3 months before the company was started. And the question that we had to ask ourselves was pretty simple that we had at the time was, if there were a protein that both the United States and the Canadian governments had issued patents on for the treatment and prevention of cancer, that both Health Canada and here in the U.S., the FDA said the product was safe to take, and the animals that were given this protein lived 30% longer than the ones that weren't, was there anything else that we needed to know in order to use the product? And that was a decision that we said, yeah, this is something we want to use. And in January, it will be 20 years that my wife, Sandra, and I will have been using Immunical. And, it was shortly thereafter of the company starting in January, and we did calls with Dr. Gustavo Bunos. And the company came out with the longevity studies that said, the animals that fed Immunical lived 30% longer than the ones that weren't. And these were very large animal studies, 10,000 white rats that were fed protein, regular protein powder, and 10,000 white rats that were fed just Purina rat chow. And yes, there is such a thing as Purina rat chow. And the 10,000 rats that were fed Immunical, and they lived 30% longer. And I remember asking Dr. Gustavo Bunos, I said, Dr. Bunos, this is absolutely amazing. The animals live 30% longer, but when are we going to see the human trials? And this is when I could just imagine him leaning back in his chair at the time. I'm in California, he's in Montreal, and he's chuckling, and he says, Keith, longevity studies in humans take 50 years. Do you really want to wait for the research? Well, you know what? Sandra and I are. In January, we've been using it for 20 years, so 30 years from now, we'll be able to look back and say, gee, you know what? 50 years on those longevity studies looking pretty good. And that's what we've got, folks. And it does all the things. You know, we're everyone's concerned about those very, very serious health concerns. You know, the things that are there. It's about quality of life. It's about that spring in your step, the ability to get up and do what you want to do when you want to do it. And that's what it's going to give you. It's going to give you that youth. That's what you're looking for. That's what I was looking for 20 years ago, you know. And I feel better today than I did 20 years ago. 20 years ago, I was on a number of medications. I'm not on those medications any longer. We're not going to drag out the call to go into that tonight or today, but we'll do that on another call. But the reality that I want to challenge yourself today is the same question that Sandra and I ask ourselves. If there were a protein that had patents of use issued in 80 countries now for the treatment and prevention of cancer, and this same protein was recognized by health authorities around the world, including the Nobel Prize winner in medicine, Dr. Luc Montagnier from the Pasteur Institute there in Paris, and this protein was safe to take, and the animals lived 30% longer that were taking it, what else do you need to know to try it? What else do you need to know? I'm going to challenge you. Try the product. Challenge the product for yourself. Make some notes on how you feel today. Get on the product and 90 days later. I always challenge everyone with the one thought, and I'll close out the call. Until you've used Immunical for 90 days, you haven't earned the right to have an opinion about it. Use it for 90 days. See what it'll do for you, and I think you'll be just like everybody else that was on this call tonight and this today. You're going to be here for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. You know, I'm looking forward to being around with Immunotech when it celebrates its 50th anniversary. That's what I'm looking for. 20 years comes up in January, but I'm looking for the one that's going to be around on our 50th anniversary of Immunotech. That's what we're looking for. Thank you all for being with us here on this incredible first international call.